Today's lecture is on the endocrine system. We're going to talk about the major hormones, the glands that make them, and I'll mention a couple disorders just to keep it a little bit interesting. What do you think of when I say the word hormone? What are some of the first words that come to mind? Steroids, cheating baseball players. So, Jose Canseco did do steroids. Lance Armstrong had something called EPO. That's not a steroid, though. So not all hormones are steroids. Also, Barry Bonds. He did growth hormone. It's not a steroid. But what were all these guys trying to do? Trying to grow. They're trying to grow muscle. So growth is part of what? It's part of normal functioning. And what controls normal functioning, or what is keeping your body within normal functioning? I'm hoping you say homeostasis. So, what else do you think of when you hear the word hormone? Insulin, maybe? What does insulin help with? It helps control blood sugar, which is part of homeostasis. Where do you find hormones? Yes, you do find it in the body. I know the short, easy answer, but where in the body? Where do you inject insulin? Or where did Jose inject his steroids? You usually end up traveling in the blood, so hormones travel by blood, where nerves go right up to their target. So, we're going to contrast the endocrine system and the nervous system. They're both messenger systems. They both control homeostasis. We'll look at the two main classes of hormones, and we'll define terms related to hormone activity and look at the major organs. Look at the nervous system. The nervous system is super fast, instantaneous gratification, but the change is very short. Norepinephrine is part of the sympathetic nervous system. It speeds up the heart. But the second those neurons stop making norepinephrine, heart slows back down. Well, the endocrine system, that's going to make epinephrine. And epinephrine stays floating in your blood for about half an hour if you don't make any more. So it's going to be in the blood longer. Now, the neurons release neurotransmitters. So norepinephrine is a neurotransmitter made by your sympathetic nervous system. And the neurotransmitters get recycled quickly. So most neurotransmitters are toxic in large amounts, so cells will recycle them. And you'll learn more about that in physiology. And they're very localized, and they're very specialized. So the vagus nerve, my favorite, releases acetylcholine onto the heart to slow it down. That acetylcholine doesn't go anywhere else when it's getting released to slow the heart down. The endocrine system's like snail mail. It's very slow because one group of cells have to release the hormone and travels in the blood, and it eventually makes it to the target. It might make 3 or 4 or 20 trips around the body before it reaches the target. So it's a very slow response where the neurotransmitter goes right to the target. The changes are slower but longer lasting. So you're driving down the freeway, some idiot cuts you off. You're going to be pissed off for exactly 30 minutes because you made the hormone epinephrine, and that has a life in the blood of about 30 minutes. And the endocrine system uses hormones. They differ from neurotransmitters and they float around the blood, and they have a longer life. And the effects tend to be more widespread and general. So insulin causes skeletal muscle, adipose tissue, and probably the brain to take in glucose. Whereas a neurotransmitter has to be released right on the target. So hormones are released by specialized cells into the blood. We have insulin being made by this gland. Insulin is going to be released into the blood. And let's say it goes to a fibroblast. That fibroblast does not have insulin receptors on it, so it will not have any effect. Now it's going to keep going, and it goes to this hepatocyte and the skeletal muscle cell. It's because the liver cell, the hepatocyte, and the muscle cell have receptors for insulin. Insulin can bind and cause an effect. So hormones are produced by specialized cells. Most internal organs actually make one hormone or another. Now the cells are secreted into extracellular fluids and the blood. So hormones travel by blood right here. And they transfer to distant sites. And they have regulatory activity. So insulin here lowers blood sugar. It also has a whole bunch of metabolic activities such as protein synthesis, taking in amino acids. So it's going to control the activity of other cells. What are some of the major organs of the endocrine system? Two of them already. Do you remember what they are? Pituitary, right here in the brain. It's attached to the hypothalamus. Then we have the pineal gland up here. We have the pituitary gland just hang out in the cella turcica, and the pineal gland in the epithalamus. What's another one? Where's insulin made? That's right, the pancreas. Any other glands? Where's adrenaline made? That's right, the adrenal glands. So we're going to put the adrenal glands. Any other glands? Well, the major glands of the endocrine system. We have the pituitary gland in the brain, right there, and it's actually connected to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is also technically part of the endocrine system. Then we have the pineal gland up here. That is part of the epithalamus. You guys got the pancreas. It is behind the stomach right there. And the adrenal glands are sitting on top of the kidneys. So adrenal glands on top of the kidneys, pancreas is behind the stomach. There are the testes and ovaries. They make hormones, but we'll talk about those when we get to the reproductive system. Now, a couple that you might not have come up with. You have the thyroid gland. It's actually a very important gland for metabolism. And there are two P-shaped glands, or four P-shaped glands, two on each side, that are behind it called parathyroid glands. So there's three main classes of hormones. Two of the classes are actually related to each other. The class you already know are the steroid hormones. This is what Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire did. They're made from cholesterol. Cholesterol is basically this ring-like molecule right here. And they differ from these functional groups. So this is estrogen down here. That has a hydroxide group on it. This is testosterone. The hydroxide group is now a double bonded oxygen. Estrogen's missing a methyl group right there. There's a methyl group. So these two molecules are actually very similar. By the way, please do not draw any of these molecules. You will not be tested on their shape. Now, only 6 of the hormones are steroid-based. 5 of those 6 are made in the adrenal cortex. The 6th one is the active forms of vitamin D. The rest of the hormones are either modified amino acids or peptide chains, which are chains of amino acids. Now, cholesterol is lipid-based. It does not dissolve in water. Amino acids generally can dissolve in water, and they don't need a special carrier in the blood because of it. So, insulin right here. That is a chain of amino acids. So each one of these is an amino acid. So it's an amino acid-based hormone. We have growth hormone. That is a chain of amino acids. And then you have modified amines. Serotonin can act as a hormone, and that's just an amino acid that has a modified functional group right there. Thyroid hormone is actually an amino acid. There's the amine. Part of the picture got cut off. And it just adds iodine and a second part of the amino acid to the chain. So, what's a hormone? Any chemical messenger? No. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers. chemicals made by endocrine glands such as the pancreas only. Always watch out for the word only in standardized tests. The heart makes a hormone. It's not an endocrine gland. The stomach makes a hormone. It's not an endocrine gland. The kidneys make a hormone. They're not endocrine glands. So, let's cross that one out. Steroid? Remember, there's only 6 steroid hormones, so that's not right. So, this is a really scientific one. Chemical messengers released into the blood by one organ, typically a gland, that travels to receptors on a second organ. So the answer is C. All but 6 hormones are steroid-based, lipid-based, amino acid-based, or carbohydrate-based. Well, none of them are carbohydrate-based. Now, steroids are lipids, so it can't be either of these. So most hormones must be based on amino acids, which dissolve in water.